Hello and welcome to Conversations with Esther. My name is Stephanie Ayeta, and this is the safe space where we talk about everything in the work environment, your job, your careers. For today, we have a very interesting topic for you. That is the fish that rots from the head. That's a business jargon that Esther Katiba will help us understand. But you should know that Esther was nominated for the HR Awards Trendsetter category, and she is among the top 5. Congratulations, Esther.
Thank you, Stephanie.
That's a very, top-notch place to be. You're ranking high.
Yes, thank you, and we bless the Lord.
Awesome.
It's the impact that we have in the industry, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about.
So you're setting trends in the industry.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So you're the right person to talk to us about this particular topic, a fish that rots from the head.
Yes.
We want to understand that. What does that mean?
A fish rots from the head simply means that leadership determines where an organization is going, and an organization can easily crumble in the hands of a leader. That's basically it. It's that simple, that a leader would determine whether an organization survives or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in many situations, we see the leaders, when an organization is failing, they would blame the employees. But now you're saying it starts from the leadership.
Definitely. I think leaders are shifting blames on employees, maybe because they don't want to be seen or as the failures, but even in a home, I think the leadership is in the head of the family. So I don't know why when we get to the workspace, then someone wants to blame the children for an organization failing. A leader drives the strategy of the organization. So it's the leader that is responsible for the organization. So if the leader is not doing the right thing, if the leader is not competent and things are not going on the right way, I think it's a leader that will easily bring down an organization.
Okay.
Yes.
And off the camera, we were talking about who influences the culture of the organization. And again, it's the leaders.
It's still the leader. It's still the leader. Sometimes and I know in modern times, you will see people say, maybe a manager is toxic and someone else is toxic. But who has the authority over the managers? It's a leader, and especially the top leader. The CEOs especially, and those that are general managers and the top leaders must take responsibility, because we look at them, or you look at them, and see what they do, what they entertain, how they also behave around in the environment, and it determines how the rest of the people will behave. Okay. So the CEO really must determine. You see, when you see a CEO say that the culture of this organization is we have fun, we make the workplace safe, and there's no bullying, there's no toxicity, then you will not dare do it, because the CEO, the authority in the organization, has spoken, and that's what comes down. But if the CEO then entertains toxicity, bullying, and everything else, that it just comes down.
Comes down to the managers, and then now it's affecting the employees.
Yes, definitely.
And someone in a conversation that we were having also off the camera was just saying about how that also trickles down to toxicity among the colleagues themselves. Yes. Yes. How does this happen? What is the effect of bad leadership from the top?
Toxicity is a whole different thing, and I think it's gotten terrible now. That I was telling you, I spoke to a lady that kind of almost lost her mind. She lost her confidence, and she had to even go for counseling and sessions to get back her confidence. She couldn't even speak in public anymore. She couldn't speak in meetings. She cried in meetings, and she told me, I would even go to the toilet in the office and just lie down and cry, because I can't take it. So the leaders must also be very keen. You see, you can't be a hands-off leader. You can't be a hands-off leader, and you need to come to the ground and understand what's happening. You're responsible for what happens between even colleagues. You should be able to touch base with different people in the business. I think leaders need to learn to spend time with each individual and each colleague around. It might not be very possible if the organization is very big, but if you have that space, it's important for you to talk to different people and understand what they're going through. Because I also had someone tell me one time that the boss told them that they're moving too fast. I mean, slow down.
Okay, so they're threatened by the progress that the employees
Yes, you're threatened by people under you, and you feel they might take your job. For me, I think my style is hiring smarter people than me. I don't know everything. So if your team is smarter than you, then I think as a leader you should see it as an advantage for you, but they shouldn't be a threat for you really. When you start pushing them down, then your team goes down. Okay. So I think it's just a job insecurity thing around.
So Esther, from that, from what you're telling us, that is one form of toxicity. So what other forms does it appear for someone who doesn't know, who is a leader but doesn't know that he's being toxic?
It comes in a lot of forms. It comes in bullying, it comes in sexual harassment. And when I say sexual harassment, it also comes for the men. And I know most people think it's the women that are sexually harassed in the workplace. I've had men that just won't talk about it and they will exit jobs because they're being harassed. If your boss is a lady and you have to keep your job, then a lot happens behind the scenes. Shouting. I have seen bosses that shout at people. I mean, I've never understood if the people just can't hear or something. And
because these are adults.
Yeah, they're adults, they're qualified. And if you hired someone, you hired them because they're competent. So shouting doesn't help. It actually instills fear. It's a way that the boss wants to instill fear in the people so that you don't speak back and you don't air your views. I have seen companies where your targets are set too high that you cannot meet them. So it demotivates you and actually kills your morale. And bosses who will keep telling you you don't have the gift, you're not talented, they just want to, it's just like a balloon, they just want to just deflate you and everything around it. And I keep asking one question, so why did you hire me if I was not competent? Why did you? And then you're the same person saying I'm not competent. It's just because they just want to pull you down. They want to pull you down.
What is usually their goal? Is it for them to have that stature and people to fear them? This is a topic that we'll cover in probably in our next episode. What leadership is. Is it fear or is it respect? So what is their goal usually? Is it to get the fear from people, or is it to drive people out when they want them out?
I think sometimes it's an incompetent boss. An incompetent boss will keep fighting people that look stronger, and they kind of feel this person could easily rise and take my role, or you're being seen more than they are, and it's an issue of esteem. And maybe if your boss just has a low self-esteem, they don't want people that are stronger, they don't want people that are visible, they don't want people that are interacting with others so much. It's an insecurity issue of bosses, I think. So if you're insecure, and I think as a boss, you know, bosses don't have to be everywhere, because if you're a leader and you're everywhere doing minor things, I mean, you organizing things here and there, then you're not a leader. People mistake that, because being seen too much doesn't mean you're working.
Okay, so what makes a leader?
For me, a leader is someone that can influence positively. You don't have to be really at the forefront, and that's what people fight for. You're fighting with your juniors that everything that is done in a department or in an organization has to be you. So you kind of want to come and overlap things, and your juniors are even scared. They're feeling, I can't give this big idea because my boss will feel like I'm overtaking them, or I'm thinking higher than them. I think it's people just need to understand that being a leader doesn't mean that you're all over the place. You're all over the place. You can lead from the back, and it's you giving the vision, giving the strategy, just giving everything. So it's just a misconception about leadership.
Oh, amazing. So what now does it do to the employee, or how does the staff now know that this is a toxic environment, because it usually affects them, it goes down to them? How do they know that this is a toxic environment?
I think if you don't like even going to your workplace, number one, if something is not right, if your heart and your mind and everything about you just doesn't like going to work, you probably are in a toxic workplace. If you don't enjoy what you do, if you cannot give your best and give it knowing that it will be appreciated, if you keep getting negative feedback. I mean, Stephanie, we don't have people who are failures in everything, but if your boss just keeps seeing the negative side of you, you need to watch out, you know. Most bosses will also try to pull out assignments from you. You know, I've seen, there's this habit in many organizations that a conversation starts with 10 people, and then you're dropped You know that habit in emails where you're dropped and you think that the conversation is not going on. It was closed long time ago, but it's because you're dropped. So they go dropping and talking about something, dropping and talking about something. Okay. So responsibilities are even taken away from you and given to somebody else, and you're
very much capable of
handling. You're wondering. Your junior tells you that the boss told me to do this, and you're thinking, that should have been through me, because the level of what they've been told to do really should come from through the head of the department down to your junior. It is you that should be giving that down. But then it's coming from the boss, and the boss is also even calling your juniors into side meetings and asking them, so what do you think about Esther? Or what do you think about Stephanie? Is she a good leader? And the juniors come back to you and say, I don't understand what's happening because the boss called me and they were asking me about you. You see, you can't lead that way. It's really, it also begins to tell me that you're holding side meetings about me. So why can't you just ask me about the leadership? Or why can't you call me and my team and ask, and let's talk about that? Because it's a habit that insecure leaders have. They will call people on the side and just start talking about the top leader with the juniors. So what does that do? The juniors begin to see, oh, you mean Esther, you mean Stephanie is not what we think. So and they will begin now leaking because they have to tell the boss what the boss wants to hear. Okay. So it becomes very toxic. You also begin to feel, Trini, what's happening behind the scenes? Yeah.
And what does that do to the organization?
Of course, you will lose talent. With time, I think for me, I will not stay in a place where the boss thinks that they can talk about me with juniors, they can withdraw roles, they can shout. Especially if you're shouting, for heaven's sake, people don't perform at their best when you shout at them. And I don't know where leaders got this from. It's either they have a lot of pressure, and if they have a lot of pressure, then they don't need to release it on employees. I think they can go play golf. They can do something else. Honestly speaking, just get yourself into a gym, get yourself, because I know leadership has a lot of pressure in it, but then do you need to come and release that on your people? It doesn't, because what you do is that you make your people coil themselves. They can't even perform. They see you coming, and the next thing is just messages that, whoops, he's here. He's here. So everybody just, it's just like the same way you would hear people say, you know, father's ni Simba. When the car just parks, you know when he parks, you even know the car from afar. You change and everybody scatters. So it's the same thing that happens. If you create that fear as a leader, you're shouting at people, you're not listening to anyone. So how then do we even talk? If you're shouting at me, there's no conversation here. We are not talking, and it's not because I'm incompetent, but it's just that maybe you have your own personal issues, and you might also need to be taught how to manage your personal issues and separate them from the workspace, and or look for something on the side and to go to the gym, release your energy there and come back to work when you're fine, or take some time off. Sometimes,
And now as a leader, for that leader that thinks maybe shouting is a sign of authority and you know they're not being any toxic in their work environment, how do they identify that this is a sign that I'm probably a toxic boss or supervisor?
Interesting, the leaders will not see it easily. It's your followers that will see it, because if that's how you lead and you think that that's the right way to lead people, then you continue doing it. It takes a very bold person to come and speak to a leader and say, of course with respect, and say, I feel this may not be working. And HR, to say the least, are responsible for that. We take in so much, and it is our responsibility maybe to even take the leader out and say, you know what, you're leading this team, but a few things here and there are not working, and I've had one or two things happen. Maybe you could try this one, or are you stressed, or do you need counseling, or do you need something to manage your team? I've had people tell me that their leaders told them, I will stress you until you die or until you get sick.
My goodness.
Yes.
So in the workspace, real?
Is that bad? Is that bad? And they feel like that's a sign of authority and that's the way they should lead. It isn't. It is not. It is. You don't go far by that. You will not move. And you see, as a leader, I keep saying, look back and see if you have followers. The people behind you may not be following you because they want to. Maybe they are forced to. But when they get another option, they will leave.
So how do you know? Is it when people start leaving? Is it when people start dispersing when you come into the office? How do you? What are the
your
signs?
teams will also begin to form a sub-team on the side and discussing issues, and a lot of information will not come to you. You see, as a leader, your team should be able to tell you that this and this issues are coming up, or people are talking about this. But if you get into a meeting and your team is just silent, they listen and say yes to everything and leave, and cannot question what you say, it is an issue.
And they can't contribute. They
can't. Some can't even take a cup of tea in a meeting. They're thinking, no, I need to get out of this meeting. You know, they're not talking. Everything you say is a yes, yes, yes. And then when you go back to the performance, it's not working. Then you begin to see their performance is going down. They don't tell you anything. You're isolated as a leader. I don't know how people operate alone. I'm that kind that will have to come and talk to you. And are you okay? Is your family okay? Is everything okay? You will talk to me. you will talk, because I can't be a leader by myself. If my team is not with me, then I'm not leading. Yeah. So you need to identify some of those things around you. Look at your team. See how they behave.
Right.
Yeah. You know, you will get to know if you care. That is, some leaders just don't care.
And what are the structures in place? Because for an employee, it's not, as you've said, it's not easy to go to the leader to say, you're being toxic, you can change this and that. Do you now need to go to the HR, and what if the HR doesn't take action?
What if the HR is toxic?
What if the
That's
HR is
even
toxic,
what you need to ask.
Yeah.
And what if it is the HR that is toxic to the team? I think it depends on the organization. And organizations need to have an open door policy where you go to the top, you report to the top. And I've seen companies that offer whistleblowing services. So if I need to complain about you as my boss, then I will send it to an external party, but it will not come through you. When the complaint goes, it will go to your boss, because you will not air it if it's about you. So there are platforms that people can go to, whistleblower services or something. I think the other one is internal structures. There should be forums where, that's why I'm saying the other top level leaders should come to the ground and engage the people. Don't just sit in the boardroom and think everything is right. Get to engage people. And please, leaders, don't come to engage people for rumors. You see, there's another thing there, that if you want to come and talk to people in my team, then you want them to give you rumors about Esther. So how is Esther? So how is she doing? So how did she even buy this car? So what do they? What is that? Come and talk to people on issues of work. I mean, keep your respect as well, because even that junior that you're asking those questions is asking themselves questions. How can Steph stoop this low? Why is she asking me about Esther? Why? What is all this about Esther? And some of them will come back to us and say, but the boss was asking me this about you.
What's that?
What is it? You
they
know?
will know
that because they trust
somewhere.
you, but the leader doesn't think that you have those conversations. It actually even brings really bad taste when juniors come and tell you that the boss was talking to me about you and you're my leader. It's really a bad picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's now talk about the solutions that need to be brought about to help end the toxic work environment in the space. And why is it now that it's more prevalent than it was in the past?
Before we go to the solutions, I think it's job insecurity, or is it that people want to go higher to bigger and higher roles faster, and kind of the world tells them you can only go higher by bringing someone else down, and that's not the solution, because you will bring everybody else down. Then it means that there will always be a brighter person. There will always be someone who is sharper, better than you. So I think it's a misconception that when I bring you down, then you create space for me up. But you see, I can move to the role that you're in, and I'm not competent for it. So I will be promoted, and it will bring me down even worse. So I think that fighting for power, and people are just so obsessed with power, not influence. So those are two different things, because you can even be in a junior role, but you have higher influence than the leader, than someone who is higher. But because people think that when I'm up there, then I call the shots, I say what you do, I can do what I want. I earn more money, I have the freedom, I actually command people like babies around. It's a power, it's an urge for power that is very dangerous. And to maybe the other question, how to correct this, I think we need to promote leaders that are seasoned and ready for leadership. Don't just give people the leadership position because you like them, or because they are from your tribe, or because they will protect your interests. Leaders you need to check and see who has influence and positive influence and who can nurture other people. Because it's not just about sitting in that position, it's not just about giving instructions and orders and feeling nice around the seat. So that needs to be checked. The next thing that maybe needs to be done to correct that is to train leaders, continuous training of leaders. Because leaders, people get into leadership and they also don't, sometimes you push me down, I leave, you take my role. And then a friend of mine just told me some time back that there's a person that pushed him and said, oh, my boss is not competent and everything. So the boss left. When the guy took the job, 1 week later, he resigned. He called the boss and said, you mean you used to take this pressure? I can't take it.
Too much.
It's too much. I mean, because there's a lot of either shouting or just toxicity at the back that the boss shields the team from until the leader moves. And then the bullets just go straight. They're like, wow. So he called and said, you mean you used to take this in? I can't. I'm out. Oh, you're like 1 week later, you're gone. I thought you said I wasn't performing and you're better than me, so take it. I said, no, never ever again. So people just need to know that leaders also shield you a lot. They shield you, they take a lot. But organizations need to invest in training the leaders and mentoring them and just making sure they have the right people skills, because it's people you're managing. It's not machines you're commanding around. If it's machines, then command the machine, it will obey. But if it's people and talent, and organizations fail because of turnover, you begin to see a high turnover if the leadership is bad.
Okay. Yes. What about the top executive finally as we conclude this? Because now it's the CEO, it's the founder, so you can't really tell them. It's them that are forming the organization, so you can fire, you can hire them. So what happens in such a situation? What solution?
If the CEO is the one that is toxic, it's easy. I think the leadership team just needs to sit and agree that we are going to have structures and strategies, what is our vision, what is our core values, because that's how an organization is formed. You don't just come and begin to command people around and form. If you don't have your values and you don't have your vision and mission, I think that's how you lose it. You don't know that, you don't have a direction, you know. I know there's a writer that said, a culture eats strategy for breakfast. So if your culture is toxic, it will eat your strategy. So it starts from the top. Starts from the top. You need to know where you're going as an organization, and what are your values, what do you want and what don't you want in the organization, what can you bring in and what can you take in an organization, and it needs to be led from the top. Unfortunately, if the leader is toxic, the CEO is toxic, then you will keep losing, especially the top. You see, because he interacts with that other top. So if you begin to see that level of people leave an organization, and in big numbers, watch out.
There's a problem.
Watch out. The problem is at the top.
Wow, amazing. What a topic. Thank you for watching. We hope you have taken something from this conversation. We have been shooting here at H&S Serena Hotel. Remember, you can follow us on our social media handles. That is at Conversations with Esther on YouTube and Instagram. On LinkedIn, you can find her at Esther Katiba. Let's meet next week, same time. Until then, bye-bye.